So I always wanted a instant Legolas, especially a Warbow instant Legolas to shoot, but I don't have one. I don't know how to make one. So today I'm going to try to shoot arrows similar speeds to an instant Legolas. Now I've already done this with a 20-pound bow and a 50-pound bow. Here's some footage as you can see. As you can see, I can speed shoot very quickly with a 20-pound bow and a 50-pound bow. But those are light draw weights. Today, we're doing something completely different. We're shooting war bows with warbow arrows. This bow is 140 pounds at 32 inches. 140 at 32, but at 28 inches, it's only 110 pounds. Normally when I shoot a war bow, I would pull it to my full 32-inch draw with the Mediterranean. But because I'm speed shooting today, I think I'm only pulling to 28 to 30 inches. And I'm going to be doing something a little different. So I'm sure Shadiversity has said this many times, so I don't need to go into it too much detail, but normally you put the arrow this side if you're a lefty, but you put it on the other side to shoot faster. Now, I've made videos before and it got me injured actually doing this because my muscles weren't used to pulling that way. So I've been practicing for a few months now so that my muscles get more used to rotating on the other side. And first of all, I just want to tell everyone, don't try this at home. Don't get injured. This is purely for entertainment. I don't want anyone else getting injured. So you put the arrow on the opposite side to see if you can shoot fast. So that's what I'm going to try to do. So here is a normal warbow arrow. You can see the nocks are fairly big because the string is thick. And it's reinforced with credit cards actually inside. Reinforced. Usually you use horn, but I use credit cards. And you can see there's still a little bit more. So this arrow is fairly long. So here's the biggest problem with speed shooting a warbow. Normally, you've probably seen Lars use carbon arrows, normal sized arrows. You see they're really thin, so it's easy to hold a lot of arrows in your hands. But with the warbow arrow, this is massive. So trying to hold a lot of these, plus it's thick. It's half-inch thick, eh? So if you're trying to hold a lot of these in your hands, it's very difficult, and it screws up the fletchings. So I kind of made my own. These are my warbow arrows. They're still half-inch thick because the spine is the most important thing. So the thickness is still the same, but here's the nocks. You see, these nocks are self-nocks, but then I put plastic piping and I reinforce it with epoxy. So basically, these are self-nocks, but they're reinforced with PVC piping. So it was kind of inspired by Backyard Boyer's nocks, but I basically widened them. So the actual structure is still the wood. It's still self-nocks. It's just wider. You see, it's hand grinded in there. It's burned the wood, but it's obviously reinforced with plastic. I mean, could this been done historically? Well, you could just use bone or horn instead of plastic. I use plastic because it's a lot more convenient. So my biggest concern is it's going to dry fire the bow. So that's why I chose this bow to be used. It's a cheap fiberglass bow, only about $200, $170 US. I think at least if I'm going to dry fire anything today, it's going to be this cheap bow. So even if it breaks, it's not going to be that big a deal. But this is basically the bow I'm using, and these arrows are shorter. So, but I'm not going to pull it to 32. I'll probably pull it to, here's my 28 and then 30. I'll try to pull it in between the 28 and 30. If I pull it to 30 inches, that's 125 pounds roughly. If I pull it to 28 inches, it's 110 pounds. So in that ballpark, very similar to the warbow that Joe Gibbs shot with an instant Legolas, the 120-pound instant Legolas. So I just want to see if I can even shoot these. I'm really worried if it's going to break the nocks. We'll see. Now, like I said, compared to normal carbon arrows, these are a lot thicker. You need that spine and weight. You don't want something too light or else it's like dry firing a bow. It's good for the bow to have something of this weight. You can shoot carbon, it's just you need something much stiffer. This is a 250 spine and it's not stiff enough for my bow. And also you can see the nocks are a lot smaller. These nocks are massive, so I really hope that this shoots a lot faster. But I just want to say, like, just holding 5 of these arrows, it feels like I'm holding a bow. It's actually heavier than a bow. It's really heavy. There's a lot of weight just on 5 arrows, you know? And these arrowheads, they're actually from surveying sticks. On the surveying sticks in a dollar store, the tips are actually made of some kind of arrowheads. I'm not doing any penetration tests today, so it doesn't matter what they're made of, how sharp they are, it doesn't matter. These, the wood is 1/2 inch hardwood. I don't remember, is it poplar or, I think they were ash, I don't remember. But these are 1/2 inch hardwood. So yeah, and these self knocks. So like, I have no idea what's gonna happen today. Either these knocks explode, I get injured, or I shoot these successfully. So we'll see what happens. And you probably noticed there's no fletchings. For today, I'm not gonna shoot them with fletchings, which means I'm gonna shoot at really close ranges. I'm not really interested at range today. I'm just interested in how fast I can shoot them. Later on, when I get more experience with these arrows, if they work, then I'll add fletchings on them. But even if I'm adding fletchings, I'm gonna add very narrow ones. So, because these ones, well, first of all, there's 3 of them. I might use 2 fletchings instead on these ones so that you don't have to fiddle around with figuring out which one's the index feather. But if you only have 2 fletchings, you don't need to do that. So I might fletch them with 2 feathers instead. So we'll see. Y shape. You can see the normal warble arrows, they're not a Y shape. They don't have that Y. If you look at a speed shooting nock, it's got a wide gap, right? But it funnels in to a smaller gap in the end. Similar, so you can see it's Y knots, but it's not wide the whole way. It funnels into a smaller area. So in the end, they're very similar. At the end where the string contacts the wood, the diameter is similar. To adjust accordingly with the thickness of these, I just add tape to add thickness on here. You could add sensor serving, but that takes more time. Tape's a lot faster to add that extra thickness needed. So right away, this is a little looser than I wanted, so I'll probably add 1 more layer of tape. Oh, that's heavy. That is so heavy, man. Oh, God, that arrow broke. Oh, God, it's so heavy.
So how's the accuracy or arrow flight? Well, it's pretty bad. And in my opinion, there are 3 main reasons. The first reason is the obvious one, that it's not fletched, and the arrow might not be perfectly spined. For this, I'm gonna improve my arrows by sanding it a little bit to make it less stiff, and obviously putting fletchings. So the second reason is, I'm doing a Slavic draw, so my index finger is applying an uneven amount of pressure every time. It's difficult to apply the exact same amount of pressure onto the arrow, so that's going to affect the accuracy. And the third reason, I think, is basically Archer's paradox. I already covered about the stiffness, but more importantly, when you do a Mediterranean draw on the opposite side, I think the arrow has a tendency to bend towards the handle, which means if the arrow hits the handle, it's going to affect the accuracy. I don't have a slow motion camera to find this, but I would love if somebody can actually try it out themselves and show us the footages. See if you do a Shadiversary draw, if it's going to hit the handle. So what you could do is right upon release, you torque your bow so that it prevents the arrow from hitting the bow. If you move your bow upon release, you have less of a chance of the arrow hitting the bow. But at higher poundages, it's very hard to do this. So if I want to hit targets far away with a heavy bow, I'm still going to stick to the conventional Mediterranean draw. It's just easier for me to hit a target consistently and accurately with a heavy bow. But for the purpose of shooting arrows fast, putting the arrow on the opposite side will shoot faster. Also, it seems like the draw weight I have is too heavy for speed shooting. So I've dropped the draw weight to 70 pounds at 28 inches with a Chinese static recurve bow. This is for the next video. But you get to see a sneak peek, and I'm shooting pretty fast, you can tell. Next video will be pretty exciting to see how fast I can really shoot with once you drop that draw weight to something more reasonable. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I didn't want to combine both these videos into one because it would be too long, so I just thought it would be better to split them into two.